chests. Yeah.
Similar strategies to kind of stack up their storm surge so they don't have to worry about later in the game while maintaining as much heals as possible. Acorn and Cold trying to do the same thing, but you can see they're inside of the zone already. Much more than they were in that last game, and that leads me to ask the question mark, or hopefully we'll see it later in the game, is how they maintain that storm surge strategy, because game number 8 or 7 on the day, it wasn't the best.
It wasn't. However, for a Viven user, they know that even if they are down, they're not out of this competition. We saw Aviv play exceptionally well in the Surge week. And so for a team that knows how to play in these make or break, last chance opportunity shots, and honestly come out on top, I'm not going to count them out quite yet.
Nah, I wouldn't necessarily count them out either, especially a team that has so much experience. But I wouldn't count out Reciprocal and Revised, team that can threaten for the high ground at a moment's notice. They can cause destruction, almost play leaderboard busters and bust everybody down when you don't expect them coming. And you can see them trying to rotate as close to the center as possible. And you see the position that they're in right now, they're not boxing up. They're continually trying to bypass everybody around so they can get a cliffside effect of their own, building a tower in the sky that we see so many teams do. And then that's where they're going to start to gather up their surge.
Yeah, surge is going to be important here. A lot of these teams were struggling yesterday, not figuring out exactly how to connect those shots early on and causing some serious issues for these duos. But for a duo like Bugha and Peterbot, 4 or 5 more opportunities, I should say, to shift this leaderboard in their favor. You know, look, as much as I was saying this pre-show, and during Surge Week, and even yesterday, how I don't know that they were going to win, I still do strongly believe that Bugha is the GOAT of Fortnite. I mean, his accolades, his accomplishments speak for themselves. So while I don't know that this is going to be the competition for them, that does not mean we're not going to see them do some big things here in the later rounds of this tournament.
Now, I kind of believe it as well. They've already ramped it up in that 7th game, trying to keep it going just like Aaron and Naves. Much better performance to start off their day. Hopefully they can kind of propel that forward into more. And you know, from one masterclass to another, I talk about Bryce and Chubbs and the little bit of experience that they lack, but a man that doesn't lack experience and can lay out the whole plan is Vivid himself.
Way too kind to me, Jacob. Tuning in with Bryce and Chubbs here. Only 10 points separates 1st through 4th right now. At the top of that, of course, is Bryce and Chubbs. And listen, Chubbs is a better man than me, selecting the chili chug splashes over the purple thunder shotgun. He, of course, does have that shockwave hammer. Bryce as well has a shockwave hammer of his own, so lots of splashes going into the end game for this duo.
It makes you think, what are these teams prioritizing? What are they focusing on? What makes more sense to have in the inventory? And sure enough, that was definitely a big decision. In my opinion, right? Any game that I've played here in Chapter 4, I've always gone for the better shotgun. I think that the extra damage is just more important for me. But clearly the pros are seeing a very different situation for them. So maybe those chili chugs are just that much more valuable.
Yeah, I got to agree with it. In these late games, you're seeing a lot of movement going to be needed. Use multiple shockwaves to get out of dodge. What happens if you don't have those extra charges left to get out again? Use those chili chug splashes. Not only does it grant you some movement speed, but it's allow you to get your HP or shield up at a moment's notice. Rokane and Joji, Revised Reciprocal, all getting close by. Wouldn't call this a POI, but the landmark where it has a static launch pad as well. Lots of mobility. And even if you don't need it, you can see Revised and Reciprocal trying to use the shockwave hammer to break upward, drop these players down into their hands.
I mean, honestly, smart play on their part, but you saw Revised get caught off guard there, drop down for just a moment, and immediately realizing this is not a safe fight to take. Now they're getting back to his teammate here. They hold a really nice spot in the POI. Not only do they have the advantage over the enemies within their area, they're also keeping Joji and his teammate at bay underneath because they have blocked off the launch pad. So even if they want to try to escape, even if they want to go somewhere else, they're not going to be able to unless they go through them.
Oh my gosh. Damn and Jigglyflopper trying to have a much better exchange off spawn. Don't want to leave it down to any solo to realize how much it impacts the later portions of the game. A Shadow, he defends the angle from Cam. great job watching out as Jigglyfopper goes down altogether. No heals on the name. Huge tag from Cam. That could be a life-saving one at back. Continues hot on the heels, drops down to the box, turns, tries to take out Shadow as well, but he's in a whole other team's box. He tries to break downwards, but he gets tagged up again by Shadow. The punch is coming in left and right from Sphinx and Shadow to take down both Jigglyfopper and Cam. That was well played.
That was a tough one.
Side. This is what you're talking about. You take that damage early, you're closing the opportunities that you have to grab the Storm Surge. Gotta be careful.
Yeah, you definitely do have to be careful. You can't be putting yourself out there. We saw that with Peter Bite yesterday, where he was just basically diving in front of shots. I mean, he was obviously he's looking for Surge, and rightfully so. He needed it, but he ended up taking way more damage than he should have. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing here happen with Vert and Walkers. Not only are they getting tagged up by Surge, but they're also getting tagged up by the players there in the distance as now Walkers is down. But looking to connect those final shots on the Vert here are two teams, Revive's Reciprocal being one of them. Of course, this could be huge for them. This could be the refresh they absolutely need. But for Vert, it might be over.
You lost your other half, your duo, your teammates. Let's do time and time again. Try to hold that confidence at a high. Revive's a reciprocal. Got to be feeling confident after that one. Refresh to propel themselves forward. keep them going in this game. Trashy and Pump looking like kind of a little down, a little bit too far down, but you can see the 12 slap berries, big bush bomb as well. You got to imagine the augment's trying to match the gameplay. Pump living with just a sliver of HP. Trashy needs to look behind, and he's going to make sure that they reunite together again before they begin to try to set themselves up, just like Quanti and Scare. We talked about them, and they're not trying to take these mid-game fights. They're just simply trying to out-heal it in this scenario. Will it work out? Honestly, I'm invested to find out.
I mean, look, it's a viable strategy. Out-heal, surge as much as you can here. Use the jellyfish to do that, but also having to use some of those chug splashes. That's when it becomes a problem for me. When you're utilizing the resources you need to keep for the late game, then there's a problem with the strategy, especially considering when you have that jelly augment, you need to start using it early. You can't wait until Surge is ticking away at you because you want to have a stockpile of those jellyfish before that purple lightning begins to strike.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. Proactivity is going to be key for a lot of these teams. You make one mistake in a lobby like this, it's something you're going to be looking back. Probably won't forget either. Agers and Kanata looking all around. 564 above the damage threshold. They did more than enough to have that feeling of comfortability at a stage like this. They're not having to hunt for Surge. They're not having to make desperate plays. Just like Peterbot and Booga, they need a phenomenal closeout here on day number 2. And I said it in that last one, it's going to come by big elimination games and high placements. Since the zone is already here towards Slappy, all they did really in this game is just try to grab that Surge early on, make sure they don't have to worry about it late in the game, because they know as later and farther this one goes, those eliminations will naturally present themselves.
I mean, look, if you're Acorn Cold or Peterbot and Booga, you're feeling pretty ecstatic about where this zone is pooled. You haven't had to put forth much effort. You've been able to kind of maintain some of those vital resources because you've been in the spot that you land, haven't had to move. Obviously, Surge would be the only factor, but clearly for Acorn and Cold, they were able to overcome that. So for these teams now, placed within Slappy Shores, they need to start moving, and they need to start moving fast. You hear them all waiting. Who's going to be the first one to shockwave hammer? Who's going to be the first one to launch away? That's the question, as all these teams just linger and wait for people to start moving.
It's like one of those situations, move too early, get focused by the lobby. Rotate too late, you get focused by the lobby. Timing has to be perfect here, or as close to it as possible for a lot of these teams making this rotation. And for Aviv and User, they're just trying to get everything left behind from Booga and Peterbot before they rotated out. Yamzo and Rise, a team looking to not only have a much better day than they did last time, because that was already a great day number 1 for them, but a better day number 2 to hopefully claim their first FNCS title and the last one for the NA East region.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking to claim it here. Yamzo just taking shots there in the distance. Big plays going out, though, as teams are taking these fights. Despite them not necessarily needing to, these teams are now on top of one another, just taking the fights that they can take. One of those teams, though, is Kanata and Agers, just sneaking around down below. They're waiting. They want one of these teams to run in front of them, because you know when Kanata shoots, he don't miss.
Yeah, and he's going to have to not miss, or at least Agers. The mats, the resources, the lowest I've seen a team like this, but they sneak up, they land a huge shot, but they get Shockwave hammered back. That's going to be Tahi trying to keep himself alive. Third party comes in. Danger Hero not able to save the day. Kanata under stress, under pressure, trying to keep their game intact. And we talk about how well they've been performing as a duo. Well, now it's your time, Kanata, the king of the solo clutches. If you want to hold that top position, it's all on your shoulders. And this is the moment. Against Death here, they already took down Tahi. Splash is coming out, trying to stabilize himself, but Death realized the position he's in. That's not elimination you want to let go for free. He tries to Shockwave hammer in, but he goes up and over to greener pastures.
Yeah, this is a tough rotate for Kanata, as he's now the focus. Anytime you get in a fight like that and you're not in zone, you're immediately going to be looked at, and unfortunately for him, that's what's going to happen here. But Danger Hero popping off here. He's going to get a little bit of help, but it's not going to be enough. No heroes in this situation, as both Kanata and Agers could not hold on, despite that Danger Hero augment activating.
Hello, leaderboard. Nice of you to open on up to have us a great finish, or a possible one at that at the end of the day. As you look on board, Pump, who went down, Trashy's going to be the last one left. 10 HP. 8 builds to his name. The information right now isn't how to get to the next zone. It's how do I get this refresh to keep myself alive.
Staying alive. That's the name of it as we get ready for these next moving zones. Pamsu and Fatch, though, doing a good job of staying alive. One of the only big duos here left. You see, look, 22, right? So 22 teams left, 42 players. Means there's a few solos looming there. And some of those solos just happen to be our top 10 teams. So for players just outside the top 10, now's your time. Now's your time to strike. Now's your time to take it. And with Dubs being one of them, it does look like he is a solo player. He needs to be careful because Jackson and D-Roller, they're solo hunters. They find those people that are by themselves, that are at a disadvantageous position, and they strike and take it.
You already seen them perform yesterday to a high standard. Now it's all about keeping up with said standard. You can see that he's looking back towards the shoreline, seeing if anybody is trying to have a relaxing day at the beach. He spots out N-Pen, but knowing that there's not much he can do about it, he's still continuing to gather all the intel he can. There's Reciprocal and Revise, Yamzo and Rise as well. Two teams already looking like they have the potential to hold on or take the high ground.
Hold on is going to be the name of it. Hold on. Because this is about to be the bumpiest ride of grand finals here in the NA East region. You see the storm pulling towards the south. Acorn still in it. Pamsu still in it. And the Yamzo and Rise not only in it, but taking high ground.
It's going to be a great chance for, honestly, for Yamzo and Rise not only to take and hold on to this high ground, it's hold on to it from zone after zone after zone. They're moving on back over towards Slappy Shores to where there is some height already out there. You see Fatch is peeking through, and he just catches Trashy slipping, plays a game of peekaboo, and comes out on top.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm impressed that Trashy lasted that long. That was really good. 10 HP, no material, just hanging out as a solo player. But Fatch able to pick that one up. Tragics and Sisto looking to keep this one going as they take some big shots. The Mythic Munition Augment playing into Tragic's favor because that man don't miss.
Yeah, I heard that in the distance. Launchpad going down. That was Quanti and Scare who's able to find that one up while they were fishing for jellyfish. It's going to be recycled by so many other players in the lobby who might lack that mobility. Yamzo spots his time to go from one high ground to the other. These builds from the start of the game, you got to thank Acorn and Cold for that one, as Booga and Peterbot trying to stay out of that destruction that is on the low ground and even finding some shots towards the backside of zone. That's going to be Dubs who feels that hurt in the morning.
Yeah, that's going to be a painful shot that he's going to have to take there on the chin. But Fatch and Pamsu dropping the team down does take quite a bit of damage, so going to need to heal back up and just play off of this. They got some shots in. That's great. That's going to keep them above the threshold, but you can't afford to continue to pursue that fight, especially with the way that it was going. But for Avivan users, they're on the back foot. They're on the edge of the zone, and they need to start going. They cannot afford to take storm damage like this. You see, he does have a med miss and some chug splashes. However, those are way more valuable in those final moments of the game when you know you can play the storm.
You can see Yamzo and Rise building underneath, just like you see some of our top competitors from every single region begin to reinforce their chances. Pamso and Fatch still trying to cause chaos in the lobby. They took down Kanata, almost took down Booga and Peterbot as well. Superstar or no superstar, they came to play and take over here in day number 2. And you can see him trying to break through, reunite with his teammates. Being box to box towards this end game is going to be important and crucial for the success. And you can see Booga under pressure. Peterbot's going to hold the covers, and now they keep this show on the road.
Yeah, and this is the big game that Booga and Peterbot needed. But as I say that, Revise takes a big shot onto him, but not going to be able to find the full elimination as Revise now weak. Needs to do something here, though, but unfortunately not going to be able to do it. It is going to be Scare going to take him out, and Acorn and Cold are... Our Slappy Shores duos are still in this game, and Acorn and Cold look to reclaim the top spot.
They had a little bit of a blunder just in that final game of yesterday to start the game today. Quanti gets caught slipping. Cold and Acorn looking like they're trying to take over the dirt. The low ground is all theirs. They're trying to stay ahead of everybody else, looking back only when they have to. Just like D-Roller and Jackson, they know a siphon is imminent with only a few builds left to their name. Ariel's coming out, trying to make sure that he stays as high away from that low ground as possible, but down goes Booga. Now it's Peterbot to show us what you got, and he's going to shockwave to the front side of zone, trying to keep himself alive.
He's doing what he can here with the minimal resources that he has. He's going to have to find something here if he wants to stay in this game, and he's looking. My man, when this guy shoots, he don't miss. So the way he's looking for these shots is going to be huge. He's actually going to go for hype. Wait, this is so risky for him to take out high ground and focus them. But sure enough, it does end up working in his favor, causing Yamzo a little bit of damage, but it's not going to be a good exchange as the Yamzo Rise end up cleaning them up.
And we got 4 teams remaining here in the final moments, and they're all superstars of the region. And you can see Cold making sure to miss Acorn up. That challenge for the high ground's going to come through, but he flies right past, landing just a short shot on Yamzo. Acorn ends up into the wrong box. He's under pressure, but he's going to be able to survive. Cold making sure that these clutch plays he's known for is going to follow him to the FNCS finals.
Acorn and Cole must have heard Z talking that trash there in the pre-show, because they're coming back. Not only are they coming back, 5, 6, 7, 8 eliminations as they hold on to the final moments. Cold going to challenge fast there on height, then go for the low ground, takes out Jackson, and now it's a 1v1.
Ice in his veins. He called Cold for a reason. A huge shot on the match. Back to back, 10 eliminations. This man wants the title. He wants to go to the FNCS Global Championship.
They either go down early or they win the game with 10+ elims. I don't know what is happening, but listen, honestly, they got some motivation here. They're getting that second win in day 2, and you love to see it.
I gotta be thinking right now, Cold, watching how that played down towards the end game. They got separated. It looking like it was bleak, but it ends up as 3 solos for the end game. Cole's got to be thinking, I got this. Acorn's got to be thinking, he's got this. Guess what? They snatched it away.
Yeah, and a big win to snatch away here, because remember, Peterbot and Booga, the other Slappy Shores team, they were competing still there in the final moments, but it was Acorn and Cold, the ones who won time after time yesterday out of Slappy Shores, are again winning it today.
And I got to give Famso and Fatch credit as well. Taking down a lot of the big names here in the lobby. Not taking them down themselves. Took them down low so another team could. But at the end of the day, the superstar Cold is just too much for anybody in this lobby at this moment. And we talked about the game number 7 blunder, game number 6 yesterday. That is long behind them. They're ready to take the next couple games by storm.
They absolutely are. But look, there's going to be some shifts on the leaderboard, and the only people that can break them down for us is Zeke, Kelly, and Taco.
Cold. My gosh, this guy is on another level. Can I just say, his ability to isolate players, just make them feel for like a moment they're safe, they're fine, and he's just waiting there with an edit, waiting for them to just drop that guard for a single moment, and he takes full advantage of that.
I think my favorite part was honestly right at the very end. He recognizes that there's a gold auto maven right for the pickings, manages to grab that, and that's actually what helps him solidify the final elimination blow to clutch out this win.
And I don't think anyone needs to question, oh, well, maybe this was because it went over to Slappy Shores. This was an advantageous zone. No, we saw Acorn and Cold time and time again yesterday have far polling west zones and still come out on top. Like you said, though, Cold with these calculated eliminations time and time again, going on the aggressive, even when he comes down to a solo player, not letting up against his opponents. Coming down, though, you do have to give props to Fatch and Pamsto. They had an incredible end game as well, but it did go to the way of the Slappy King.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Just watching that back, it's so clear that like Cole is almost forcing everybody to move where he wants them to move, right? He's like, hey, if you want this fight, you're gonna come down to this wall and you're gonna have to go for this shot, and he makes sure he's the one that walks away with it. Once again, they take over that number 1 spot, though.
I love that you're saying move and move, because Acorn and Cold moved down to 3 placement points after Game 7. Now moving back up 3 placements again, holding it back that first place spot.
They're just looking to reclaim their title and their position on the leaderboard. And whether or not they manage to hold on to it, I think if we continue seeing these kinds of repeat performances that Cold is clearly capable of, it's more than feasible to imagine that they're probably not going to sink much further than where we saw them initially in Game 7. And watching that bounce back in Game 8, they've again built up a little bit of a buffer zone.
And clearly, they are the stars of that last game. But can we talk about second and third place right now? These 2 duos continue to surprise us, even after day 1, where we weren't certain if they were a day 2 team. And here we have it, Bryce and Chubbs sitting in second, Reciprocal and Revised, the high ground kings that we had from yesterday, still doing good in third.
But you know what's crazy in this game, actually, Kelly? We actually saw Yamzo and Rise They were the ones on high ground this time. They're like, Revive's reciprocal, no, we would like to challenge. Apparently in day 2, everyone's looking to play height.
And one of the best things that Yamzo and Rise did with this height is that when they noticed that the zone was pulling back towards the territories that they had high ground built, not necessarily them, but just builds in general that were going high up from 4th and 5th zones, they were able to connect to with using the shockwave hammers to launch themselves towards that front side of the zone. And they also made sure to cover their tracks. They backtracked and made sure to connect as well to where they were just at, just in case. You never know which way these zones are going to start moving. But I think that ultimately it starts with Peterbot actually chopping Yamzo and Rise in the first place.
You do have to give credit. Peterbot, we saw yesterday going down early a few times. It was Booga who had to come out with the solo clutches, and this time the roles were reversed. And like you said, we saw Peterbot trying to take down that high ground and even then trying to contest it, going for the shot, but unfortunately just falling a little bit short. But again, this is what we expected out of the duo yesterday, and they're finally showing up when they need it most.
And once again, back to Yamzo and Rise, right? Props to them. In that moment, if we're getting shocked, like, that is a very scary situation because you don't know what's coming. You just know you're going down. For them, they're like, hey, there's someone right there. And then both of them are like, all right, let's deal with that as an issue, right? Being able to just react like that so fast in those high-pressure situations is incredible.
And the problem is that Peterbot, again, he's kind of just forcing them to play down at everybody else's level. They had such a strong control over that high ground. We saw a couple of duos try to attempt to overtake it, but Yamzo Rise just instantly forcing them back to the mid ground, back to the low ground. And again, if Peterbot doesn't find that initial spot scan where he's like, hey, why are we letting these guys play up here in the first place? It was a little bit of sabotage, I think, on Peterbot's end that happened to just work out really well because then Cold had an opportunity to try and challenge. And granted, he didn't actually close out anything there, but it's the fact that Yamzo and Rise were having to take shots in the first place.
Yeah, so absolutely insane. And I mean, even think about, like, my mind's racing, by the way. I think about, like, Kanata, right, in that situation as well earlier on in the mid-game, being left as a solo rider saying, what am I supposed to do? The lobby, everyone is drawn. I've drawn the ire of everybody. It ain't gonna look good.
Yeah, it also didn't look too good for Trashy and Pump there. Finally having a bad game, and they've done an incredible job so far. But if these zones continue to pull that far south side, and if they don't have that contesting going on in their drop, seems like this might be it for them.
I did love, though, seeing Trashy there at the end, just kind of hiding, feeling the most. 10 HP and a dream at that point.
Listen, those little things could make the difference, right? That time, it didn't, but maybe in the coming games, we could change up the strategy. Remember, we have to adapt if we want to be in that #1 spot, but we know you want more games. We do as well. So find your seats on the battle bus. This is game number 9.
Zeke says adapt. So adapt we shall, especially these competitors, depending on where you're at on the leaderboard, means oh so much. We're seeing it affect players already. You're down, you need to get eliminations and a high placement. But if you're high up on that leaderboard already, it almost makes you wonder, do you get aggressive? Do you stick to the plan? The question is up in the air.
There's so many questions up in the air, but for these storytellers, one is playing that or making that story a little bit better than the others. They're writing those words down a little bit stronger. It's Acorn and Cold as they finish such an incredible game 8, but 9 is here. The third game of the day, almost to the halfway point of day number 2, and here we go.
All it takes is one mistake, one misstep. We've already seen the leaderboard change game after game so far, including our first place players. Who's to say anything different will happen here yet again? Business as usual towards the Slappy Shores. Split between north and south. A little bit of surge probably meant the difference for Acorn and Cold because on game number 7, the start of the day, they were down on Surge. A huge switch up in that last game to make sure they were ahead of Surge through and through. Oh my God, Panda, I'm ready for it. I am ready for this one. Blake and Bizzle, polarized users, the fight I've been waiting for.
I'm going to be honest with you. It does look like Bizzle was a little bit behind, but it doesn't matter because Blake's just too good. Polarized, though, going to be able to clean up Blake. But now Bizzle is going to be healthier. All he needs is one solid shot there with the burst, but no, he's not going to have the mats to protect himself. But now it is all down to this. One shot in either direction, but no, Polarized does find some health, and unfortunately for Bizzle, he's going to be down and out. This is going to be the first time of the day that they have lost this off-spawn battle.
A huge opportunity from Blake. Trades, but the two Mavens on the other side really changed the course right before our very eyes. Swirl and Eoxy. The team that kind of claimed this spot as theirs, pushing Chimp and Spade off. This time around, at the very least, choosing to go a little bit more towards the east. Not too far, though. They can still trade for Surge as Eoxy and Swirl climbing up, at least trying to spot out where they're rotating through and just spots them all together.
Yeah, I mean, look, this fight has been interesting, especially on the day. Eoxy and Swirl, they have been the victors. Time and time again here in the farms, they've been taking out Spade and Chimp, but Spade and Chimp have a different strategy this time around. They're going to play a little bit more passive. You saw last time, Spade was literally diving in, and this time, that's not going to be the case. But speaking of diving in, is, of course, Nosh is not going to be able to take out Mason, going down super early in this game. Definitely not what you want to see if you're this team.
And you're seeing the drop spot switch-ups all together. Glace and Mason once landing at Anvil Square, contesting Clicks and Donnie. Didn't like the look of their position after day number 1 on the leaderboards. Adaptation's key. That's going to be the storyline throughout the rest of these games. And for them, they're just trying to do just that, just like Nosh and Nut. They're trying to continue to adapt on the fly, change up their game plan that no one could really see them coming.
Yeah, no one's going to be able to see this coming. There's so much here. Chubbs looking to keep it together. Aaron and Naves. Wait, they're getting involved on the fight with Aoxy, and Aoxy ends up going down.
Look at Chimp and Spade. You can see them on the mini-map. They hear all this action going down. It's almost like a green light, and they're trying to make it before it turns red. They realize the opportunity is now as the Swirl goes down. That's going to be Chimp who steals that one away. Do they continue to aggress onto this situation? Because in their heads, they're probably thinking the team that contested is weak.
I'm going to be honest. Look, Chimp heard this fight going down from a distance, but we can hear from a distance Chimp is excited. This is the turnaround that they needed as a duo. They needed someone else to get involved as Aoxy continued to win this fight against them, but it all changes now in match number 9 as Spade and Chimp have the upper hand.
Nair Naves was one of those teams that weren't having the best day number 1 overall. When you look at the leaderboard, they're like, hey, if we want to climb up, even if not to take first, but to take even more cash in our pockets, we got to start getting eliminations. We got to start getting busy in this situation. Otherwise, everybody else in the lobby is going to get to bypass us up the leaderboard. And you can see Trashy and Pump going against Tasker and Clarity. And oh my, Pump with a huge shot to keep it going in their favor. These are the moments. With them going down rather early in that last game, they need to make up for it here.
And they're going to make up for it. If there's one team that knows how to be aggressive, make up points via elimination, it's going to be Pump and Trashy. These two have time and time again shown that they are incredibly talented when it comes to getting those eliminations. I mean, almost all day yesterday, they were leading the elimination leaderboard. So for them, they just need to do that yet again here in day number 2.
Talk about leading the leaderboard. Acorn and Cold, first name that comes to mind. You can see he's still setting records. It's Cold's first time with multiple victory royales in a single FNCS finals. He has multiple second place finishes underneath his belt, a third place finish in the international stage at the last FNCS Invitational. A win, Panda. A win is all he lacks. And let me tell you, I've never seen a young player of Fortnite try so hard not to just make some money, not to just make a name for himself, but become the best right before our very eyes.
The best. The conversation of who is the champion, who is the best of the region. This is the last chance to show that you're the best of NA East, because remember, this is the last of NA East. Now, we watch before these regions combine. Who will be your champions? So much still to be left to told. Now, look, we talked about Demon and Nick yesterday. When we did tune in with them, they were getting aggressive. But unfortunately, that wasn't really working out in their favor. It seems to be the same case here. They find themselves getting in these spots where they get caught off guard. Despite them thinking that they're starting to fight, they take the shots. And now these teams, guess what? They're not going to leave you alone. You took shots at them. Now they're only going to take shots at you as the focus comes through here for D-Roller and Jackson. Man, Jackson finishing strong last game and starting out strong here in this game.
Yep. Saw the struggles that Glace and Mason went through to start it off. He was just trying to hope his best to kind of get the reboot card, get Mason back in all together. And after getting those eliminations, they realize we can't stay in this position. We have to continue going. And you can see right now where they're going. They're grabbing that slap bear. You talk about the effects, the extra sprint that you're going to be able to get. That way you can save those charges for the Shockwave Hammer. You can see how this one ended. They spotted out Glace, 2 different angles. He tries to go for... I got to give Glace that. At least he went down trying.
Hey, listen, sometimes you just got to go down swinging. That's how these fights go. Not every single fight is going to go in your favor, but for teams like Crackley and Co., they seem to be winning theirs early. But we tend not to see this team in the end game. And that's why they find themselves towards the bottom half of the leaderboard. And unfortunately, that's what they need to reevaluate. Is this aggression early on really worth losing those so valuable placement points later on?
That's something I think a lot of these players in this lobby are kind of going through, that mental game. Battling with themselves. Is this the right play? Is this the wrong play? Do I get aggressive here? Do I try to back up? Decisions are crucial. And with each passing game, you get even more important. You can see an augment that I actually haven't seen too much of. The tactical AR and the combat shotgun.
Yeah, that tactical armory augment is, honestly, it's underrated. Obviously, we see it a lot more in zero builds, I think, than we do here in the standard competitive mode. However, that doesn't mean it's not as valuable in these modes as well, especially when you're struggling to find a shotgun. It's going to be effective for you in the end game. And man, is the combat shotgun effective there in the end game?
And I kind of think of the idea that the tactical AR also has the red dot, so it's going to allow you to get Storm Surge. Not a ton, because it does use small ammunition. But Bryce and Chubbs over here towards Fault. He splits the zone, continuing to push everybody towards the center. NPen and Chess Genius on the other side. 2 dangerous duos here in a moment like this. So you have to be careful not to bite off more than you can chew at any situation. And with the Falcon Scout in his inventory, a rather unique inventory at that. Just a Thunder Shotgun when it comes to actual weapons to fight with. Everything else, heals, resources, and the Falcon Scout to gather information, and that's exactly how they know the direct positions of both Chess Genius and NPen.
What is he cooking? What is going on in the mind of Chubbs? I mean, look, you see him playing a little bit further away than his teammate. Maybe he'll let his teammate go in first. He takes the chunk shots from a distance. I don't know, but when you don't have a follow-up weapon to convert this fight, it's going to be a tough one to take.
Dropping down low. He realized he can't get into a heated battle, box-to-box fight. He has to keep his distance. Piece control in a situation like this is going to be important. Pulling out the Falcon Scout, making sure to know exactly where NPen and Chess Genius at. It's not enough to know that they're above them. They need to know exactly where they're at, because there could be a chance for them to drop down. But Vivid has another plan for us. We're talking about Acorn and Cold and their road to the top. Vivid, how have they been doing so good?
Doing pretty good this game. Listen, they're looking to break the trend so far in day number 2. Seems after every single game, we've had a new lobby leaderboard leader. And to hold on to this game, they're already looking good. They got that zone pulling towards Slappy. Last game, when they did that, they got a lot of Storm Surge. That combined with the loot that they got, Shockwave Hammer already, picking up a purple Red Eye as well. It's going to be looking good for them holding on to that lead.
Thank you, Vivid, for letting us know that Chug Splashes are in the future of Acorn and Coal, because what was that, 9 Chug Splashes in the inventory? That is a beautiful way to start this game.
You can kind of see when he opened some of that loot, a Chug Splash popped out. He has Splash Medic. It's those clues. It's the little things, the little notes that I take to hope to take me to the top of the leaderboards one day. Maybe 2025, you'll see me compete in FNCS. I need that much time to practice, but Bryce and Chubbs, they don't need much time at all. A huge fight that we knew was inevitable between these two teams. The information, how close they were through and through. They know one player's weak. They're separated. They're trying to attack. The piece control is theirs. Bryce has them exactly where he wants them, but shockwaving himself out of danger for the moment. This one's going to continue, with Bryce still hot on the chase. Shots are going to fire in. It's going to fire back onto Bryce as well. The bait and switch to try to keep them alive. NPen goes up. He goes right back down and back into the box with Chess Genius to try to heal up. This is a fight that the longer it takes, those teams from Fault Splits might be like, what is that over there? Is that something that I have interest in? Which, yes, when it comes to Storm Surge.
I mean, look, that was a huge play for NPen, saving his teammate there in that crucial moment. As soon as he was dropped in the box and that player was hunting, Bryce lost sight of Inpin.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was at the cost of almost all of Bryce's health there in that moment. But for Inpin, they're looking to keep this fight going. This fight, though, is taking quite a long time. The longer this takes, the more eyes it's going to draw, and potentially more of a third-party opportunity coming in the distance.
I'm even seeing on the mini-map, there's another team in Faulty Splits gathering information with the Falcon Scout. We've seen a couple of teams do it early on from different regions, and it's really catching on. Everybody realizing the information that you gather is so vital for making it through every passage of the game as Npen continuously trying to play aggressive. Piece by piece, it's getting under his control, but on the other side, his teammates under siege, under pressure. It becomes too much, but they fire back. Cheney's genius with the knock onto Bryce, leaving Chubbs by himself, scrabbling for the answer, scrabbling for the way out. It does look like he's going to get atop the mountain, but is he going to be able to escape altogether?
Yeah, will he be able to escape? It's actually Chess there on top of it. They were not going to let him get away, and sure enough, Chubbs, one of our top 10 teams, is going to be out here early in game number 9.
Avivan user, 25 below the damage threshold. You can see them looking on in the distance as the zone continues to pull towards the south portion of the map. They're hoping to gatekeep anybody still left wandering on the north. They continue to bounce up and down that threshold, but user found a passage that they can go because they realize Storm Surge isn't the only thing we got to worry about. We got to make it to zone because yet again, another far pull for Avivan users.
This has been a tough day as far as rotations go for Avivan users. This is the second time they're having to pull far over to the east, but it's actually starting to pull a little bit more central, so it's not necessarily as bad as the other ones, but still a tough travel day for them. And obviously, the soles on the shoes are running thin because they are starting to slow down here, but a team that's not slowing down is Trashy and Pump. They know how big these elimination points are going to be for them, especially with how far below the damage threshold they are, so they need it. They need it, but they want it too. And I think they're going to want it more than the other team. You see them continue to press forward. One knock comes through, but one knock also exchanged, and Pump and Trashy, in what a turn of events, are now out of game number 9.
Wow. A team that needed a surge and Pump and Trashy turns out to be their demise. And one man's trash is another man's treasure. Taking advantage of the situation, realizing I just have to play defensive, waiting for them to burst through the box. Fires the shot that mattered, putting that final nail in the coffin and keeping their own journey alive, just like Revised and Reciprocal. A team that I'm just excited to watch here towards the end games. The opportunities that they force. It's not even opportunities that come to them. The opportunities that they're creating to take over the high ground game after game, even though they haven't seen the most success. It's about that persistence in which they have.
Persistence is key in a situation like this, especially for Acorn and Cold, because persistence will win them that awesome spot there in the Global Championships, and that's what they're hunting for. This team is set, and the chemistry is off the charts here for Acorn and Cold. We've seen both players play with different teams in the past, but this one seems to be the one-way ticket to the Global Championship.
See, Shadow and Sphinx yet again. From one fight to the next. Peaks at the right time. Catching Vert slipping. Another team having their game dictated by lacking Storm Surge. You got to make sure you get ahead early, or at least above the threshold, so that way you can focus on rotation after rotation. You don't get held out just like this. You see so many other teams in the distance. Muds and Degen going to be one of them, trying to make their life as hard as possibly can be. But you talked about the team from Lonely Labs, Threats in Macwood. We saw them early on. Not have to worry about Surge, not have to worry about a contested drop. They looted up rather quickly and tried to rotate, because look at where this zone is versus where they started.
I mean, look, all these teams are really having to move here as this zone continues to pull in an interesting direction. It's going to be the first time we've seen it in this area, and unfortunate for Clicks and Donnie. Donnie's going to go down. Clicks now having to hold on here as so many other teams pressing him. He needs to switch to hard material. Yes, there it is. He cannot be wasting that wood, because you know as well as I do, Jacob, the more you try to hold on with wood, the more likely you are to get eliminated.
Yes, that's also one thing I learned from Vivid playing arenas, playing trio, late game, is sometimes it's worse to sacrifice in your resources, build outward, create more real estate to work with. That way you can survive later in the game, because what good are those resources if they're in somebody else's loadout?
Yeah, I mean, if you're eliminated, you're not using builds So use them or lose them. That's the best way to look at it. But for Bugha and Peterbot, they're holding down, getting some big tags there in the distance. You see them having not an exceptional day, number 2, but definitely a better start to the day than they had yesterday, which leads me to believe that there is very little chance they qualify outside of the top 10 at the follow or at the end of all of this. But they don't want just top 10. No, Jacob. They want top 2, top 1. They want to walk away with that spot in the Global Championships. They want to walk away with the majority of the prize money. There's so many things that they want, but will they be able to achieve it?
Yep. Doesn't matter what you want. You got to earn it. You got to deserve it at the end of the day. You see Evs down. Miro, probably one of the more prominent solo players that we've seen in Fortnite history. Is he up for the challenge? That's the question we really got to ask ourselves. Probably the farthest to go before he's in zone. Also as a solo, trying to use as much of the big bush bomb and the bush warrior augment to try to get himself to 100 effective HP and shields. That way his rotation doesn't come with too much damage and too much resources to be used overall.
Yeah, expending a lot of resources here is not a good look here at this part in the game. You know how much you need it in the end game, and that's what teams like Pamsu and Fatch are going to do. They're going to try to take shots. They're going to try to get involved here and try to use as many materials as they can to get the fight, because they know how much that refresh is going to provide for them, and that's what you see here, them going for that refresh. It does look like they're so close to getting elimination onto 1, but another team now getting involved here. This just makes it tougher and tougher for Pamsu and Fatch to finish this off. And now Fatch taking a ton of damage and going down. Pamsu as a solo player, will he be able to clutch it up?
It looks like he's just trying to disengage from the scenario. Build a box for Fatch. Try to find some sort of safety, but in comes Chimp, in comes Spade. Everything comes crumbling down. And you add in Scare from the distance, but finishes off with Refresh and the Siphon. Not going to be able to get any of those masks. There goes Chess Genius coming in like a candy-stealing baby.
He literally ran in. Oh, I'm going to take this. Peace. I'm out. And immediately getting out of that situation. Honestly, good on him. But for Scare, he's holding it down as a solo player. It's funny how these events transpire. You see Fatch and Pamsu looking to take advantage of Scare being a solo player, and then all of a sudden, another team gets involved. Fatch goes down. And now we're here. A 1v1 with Scare and Pamsu, but with other teams looming in the distance, I don't think either one of them are going to be able to make it out.
Ooh, almost ends up in the box for Patch. Has just a couple more seconds to try to get above the threshold, but he gets shut down altogether. A huge shot by Pamsu, trying to use the distraction all around to stay alive here as a solo. Chances of getting Patch back in are almost slim to none. As Cold goes down, this is great for everybody else in the lobby. We talked about how much of a gap they have built themselves in game after game up until this point. Just 14 below. And he's continuously falling, and he doesn't get it off in time. The splash is not going to be able to be used. Down goes Acorn and Cold. Up goes everybody else. This is their chance to rise to the top of the leaderboard.
The biggest threat to Acorn and Cold in this lobby is not the players, but it is the Storm Surge. This is the second time we've tuned in with them today where they have gone down at the hands of Surge. And honestly, you got to get a handle on this plan. Despite them being in first place now, that doesn't mean they're going to be able to hold on to it, especially with the way they're not able to get this damage here in game 1 and 3 on the day. So he's going to have to tune up and change. But for a team that is starting strong today is Impen and Chess Genius. Interestingly enough, this team hasn't done too much or used as many materials as I was anticipating. They're definitely lower than they should be going into this. However, based on what we were watching earlier, I thought more would be gone.
No, I think you're right. You're just missing a little piece of that story. They did use all the resources, like you said, but you saw them snatch away everybody else's loot coming in at the opportune time to try to take advantage. That's why they are at the count that they are at this current moment. And you can see the zone now. We're going to be pulling a little bit to the northeastern portion, back into faulty splits. The different elevation changes, if you're not ready for it, could be drastic as down goes Rise. Yamso here trying to save the day, but the pressure for Quad Jock might be a little too much, and that's why you see the splashes getting dropped left, right, and center. Even though Yamso is at full HP, he's just trying to buy Rise more time before he goes down altogether. Something is better than nothing, but he realizes that one's going to be near impossible. I have to keep going. But that's something, if I'm Rise, him going down, I got to have a boast of confidence, because Yamso, his story, he came up as one of the best solo players out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely did, but Yamso, here. An incredible fighter, and with 13 chug splashes in the inventory, he's looking to take this fight head on. Now, players, though, like Infinite and Chess Genius, they're doing the same thing, getting into boxes left, right, and center. Now challenging Macwood here for the throne. Will he be able to take him out here, as they are both weak? One shot could turn this all around and get some much-needed eliminations here for Chess and Inpin. But, man, this has not been a slow day for them.
Oh, zone pulled back. I was wondering why they weren't shockwaving, because they realized they had the spot that they wanted already. Kanata and Ager's trying to do the same, lacking some resources at Mats. You can see the heals that he had on him very, very early on in the game. Those are done and gone. And you can see, instead of taking altercations, trying to get the refresh, he knows those opportunities will come later on in the game, so he's just trying to stay ahead of the zone, so that way he can look back at a Modus Dotus and pop some of the most important shots that he will fire in this game. As Revised, as a solo, the pressure is on so many players who lost their duo moments ago.
Revives reciprocal, not finding that same groove they saw in day number 1. They're taking height in the first 3 games, but unfortunately in this round of events, they're not able to find it. But now, Okus finding himself towards the high ground yet again, but not finding success in the high ground to date. But this is their chance to turn that around, to change the tide of that story, because they can hold that high ground even for just a moment longer. But no, they're pushed off, and now they need to play something together and finish this game strong.
Lay back. play a game?